Episode number 38. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for say, Mummy.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It is great to be back with you today as we continue the Create Your Flexibility series, and we'll be chatting to another awesome business owner about her journey into launching and growing her own business. Now, before we jump into the show, I just wanted to remind you about the collective. The doors of the collective are closing on the 31st of August. This is my monthly membership for women who want to build careers that they love whilst raising a family. So through the membership, we offer support, guidance, coaching that can help you to figure out what it is you want to do with your career post motherhood and how you actually get there, mapping out the plan to get there, giving you the support and the accountability you need to move you towards a career that you love whilst raising a family. So come and join us. We had our first group coaching call this week, and it was great to be in there with the ladies who have already signed up to the membership and who are doing amazing things. And we are loving the fact that we can be supporting them on that journey. So if you're interested, head over to lightboxcoaching.com/the-collective so that you can sign up. Okay, so on to today's show. I'm excited to be interviewing an awesome lady who started off as an interior designer. She and her husband travelled around the world for 10 years as expats and worked in various different countries. And now, since becoming a mother, she's transitioned to building her own business. It's really interesting how her business developed and how the idea for her business came about. She set herself a challenge to learn 12 different crafts in 12 months. And one of those crafts she really fell in love with and decided to spend more time doing it. And people started asking her about it. So she started teaching it. And now that's developed into a business. So without further ado, let's jump into this interview so Isabella can tell you more about her journey. Hi, Isabella. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to interview you today. Could you tell the audience a bit about you and your family and your work?
Yeah, thank you so much, Janine, for having me on the show. As I said, I'm Isabella, and I'm a maker and an educator. I'm also a mum of two. And until last year, I was living in London, but we moved to Hampshire in the country. And that's where I now do all of my work. I spend most of my day doing Macrame, natural dyeing, and a bit of crochet. And I also teach. So I do live workshops around the UK. And I also have 2 online courses. One is Macrame and one is natural dyeing. And I've recently started working with corporate as well to do well-being creative workshops.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Easy.
It sounds busy. I'm really excited to find out more about the work that you're doing. So we'll dive into that. But before we do, can you tell me about your career pre-motherhood? So what were you doing before you became a mum? Were you doing similar work or completely different? What did it look like for you?
Well, still creative. So I've trained as an interior designer. And I always worked as an interior designer. I was lucky enough with my husband that we traveled around the world for about 10 years as expats. So we were both interior designer, working and traveling. And then finally we settled back in Europe. We were actually in Italy. And I had my first daughter, and that's when I stopped working. And I had my first daughter, and then we moved back to London because the expenses and how expensive London is. I went back, and then I was pregnant, and I worked until I was basically 9 months pregnant, and then I had my second daughter. And then after that, I went back to work, but luckily I had a really good boss who let me work shorter hours and only 4 days a week. So that's when I start thinking about a different way of working. I just wanted to have more flexibility around the kids. And then this idea of the blog came up. And I've decided to do this blog about following my journey of learning 12 crafts in 12 months. And it was just literally an idea. It was just something that I wanted to basically channel a different part of my creativity by doing something that was totally me. And then it basically grew organically from the blog. After a few months, some people start asking me to teach some of the craft that I learned. My first craft was Macrame. And back then, it was about 2 years ago, no, hardly anyone was teaching Macrame. So I was lucky enough that I started doing workshops and they became very popular. And that gave me the courage to start like a side business. And then when we decide to move from London, I've decided to quit interior design. And now I just do not want to go back to an office.
Wow.
So that's what drives me to work really hard every day, because I want this to work. I do not want to go back.
Yes. It's amazing. So, okay, I have a few questions for you, but before I ask you that, can you just explain, so anyone who's listening who hasn't heard of macrame before and doesn't know what it is, so can you just tell us a little bit about that, give us the intro?
Macrame, it's a very, very old craft. Originally, it comes from Arabic word, and which means, I think it means knotting. I can't remember now exactly, but basically it was used to make this kind of pattern and to have fringe made out of rope to put over the horses and the camels, so that the fringe will move and they will keep the fly away. So it started as a very practical craft.
Oh, I see.
And then it kind of traveled through Europe, especially south of Europe, and it's been used for years and years. And then in the 70s, it became very, very popular. So all our grandmothers and mothers, I think they learned it at school, and they had macrame planters everywhere. And then recently, I would say probably the last 5 to 6 years, it got popular again. And we call it modern macrame. So we use exactly the same knot, but we use them in a more modern way, that it could be from wall hangings to doing hammocks, to do planters, to completely wedding backdrops and table runners. And basically it's like different knots using mainly rope, but you can use other materials too, and to create different patterns. And that's what I love about macrame, is the fact that even if you know very few knots, the possibility and the combination of the patterns that you can create are limitless, endless. So therefore, it's a very, very creative craft. That's what I found it very, very creative.
Oh wow, that's so awesome. And so when you embarked on your journey to do 12 crafts in 12 months, which is pretty ambitious, I would say, what prompted you to go on that journey? So you kind of mentioned that you wanted to do something that was just for you, because I think for a lot of mums, after you become a mum, you sometimes think, well, who am I now? In addition to being the mum, who am I? Do I have anything that's just mine? So was that the place that you were coming from when you said, I want to find something for me to do?
Definitely. I had the idea of doing a blog since I had my first daughter. So we were living in Milan. And I remember talking with one of my best friends, and I said, I really want to do a blog. I just want a place where I can just be myself and just kind of tell my journey. And I always knew how to do something about being creative, because I've had so many boards on Pinterest, so many favorites on my list, so many screenshots, and I knew I had to be something creative, but I didn't have a definite idea. And was it lifestyle? Was it about kids? I just did not know. And I think after a few years, and after having my second daughter, I knew I wanted to be something that it was me as a person, detached from the kids somehow. Even on my Instagram, I don't talk about my kids much. I just wanted to be me as a person. Obviously the kids are part of me, but I just wanted to be a place was just me. Things that I do and way that I found to express myself. And for me, it's relaxing. In the evening, my husband might be watching the football and I'll be doing a macrame. And that's for me that's what I do to relax, to be in that kind of space of mind where I can just be myself and totally let go and and be me. So
I love it. And I love how it's grown organically. So it's gone from that, and then you've taken it now to having your live workshops and then your online courses. So how have you found that transition? So going from, okay, this is an outlet for me, to then creating a business around it.
I never thought it was going to be a business, but as I think part of me wanted somehow to grow and become something. So when the opportunity came, I just took them. When someone asked me, oh, would you like to do a workshop? I never ever thought I was going to be a good teacher. I never ever thought I was going to ever teach. Teaching was never something in my radar. But I just went for it. And I said, well, let's just give it a go. And then I guess when you're teaching something that you're passionate about, you just love it. And I think it comes across. And I got a good feedback straight away. And that's, I think, gave me the buzz. And I said, well, let's do it again. And it was about a year and a half where I was doing my full-time job, so Monday to Thursday. And then I was working in the evening and in the weekends with my TWOME, so my side business. So it was, for a long time, it was both of them. And my mom always said to me, you're crazy, you have a full-time job, you've got kids, a house, a husband, why are you doing this? But I just knew that if I put enough work on it, that if I dedicate enough time, it could become something. And I just wanted to give it a shot.
Yeah, I love that. I get that as well. People are like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to do so much? You have young children. But I think what you say really resonates, that when you know that it's something that you're passionate about and that you really want to do, you have to give it a shot, because you don't want to look back and say, what if I would have tried, where would it have gone? And so for the ladies listening who have been thinking about launching something, just do it, and see what happens.
Even before this, when I was traveling, and we moved, I think, 4 countries in 10 years. People are like, why are you doing it? And it says, well, you're not scared. You're leaving all your family. You just don't know anyone, or you started from scratch every time you go in a different country. But I know it's scary, but I think once you've done it once, when you took that leap and see the other side, how good it is, and then it's easier to do it again. So it's always the first step, the hardest one. Then once you go on the other side, then your vision opens to something that it could be so amazing. You don't want to go back. You just want to go forward. So yeah, definitely just do it. Just start something that will have a ripple effect, and then you don't know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that. The traveling part, I after university, I went to New York for a year, and I went on an internship. And I remember when I was leaving to go, I was really excited about going. But when I got to the airport and it was like, okay, I'm going, and all my family and like my boyfriend at the time was just waiting, I was just like, am I going to go? I'm actually going to go. I was crying.
Am I doing this?
I'm doing this, leaving all my family and my friends. And I went, and it was such an amazing year. It was an amazing experience. My everything opened up for me in terms of possibility, and just knowing that, I can do this. I can move across the world and live somewhere else. And then when I was coming back, I was upset again because I was leaving the people that I had made friends with over there. And so when I came back, and we used to live in London, and I got a job working in Surrey, and I said to my husband, should we just move to Surrey? Like, we've never been there. We don't really know the area. Should we just move? And he was like, are you sure? So yeah, I moved to New York. I can move to Surrey. Yeah. So once you do something like that once, then you can, it's so possible.
Awesome. Exactly.
So what are some of the challenges now for you that you face with juggling everything? There's women that are listening who are working out how they're doing the juggle between work and family life, whether they are in the corporate space or whether they're running their own business. There's always challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced?
I think the biggest challenge is, especially at the beginning, when you want to give everything to make you work, is the balance, the time. I was working in the evening and then working some weekends. So one, I think you need to have the support of your partner or of your family, because obviously he was looking after the kids when I was running the workshop. So, he has to be in it as well. And so to have that support, someone that believes in you and say, I'm going to support you, just give it a go, so you don't feel guilty to take all this time for yourself. Mm-hmm. Because until then, you dedicate everything just for the kids, the house, the husband, and the work. Suddenly you say, well, I actually want this amount of hours just for me to make this business happen. So I think the support, and to also try to set boundaries. So I had to set boundaries because you get so excited when everything starts, just want to spend every single moment into the new business, but you still have the kids and the husband. So it's like, okay, after 9:00, no more Instagram, so I can spend at least 2 hours with my husband, and to set up some boundaries. And also, I think something that I've learned early on, because obviously I had a family and I had to set boundaries, is to say no. And I think that was one of the hardest, because at the beginning you think that you have to take every opportunity to make your business work. But I think somehow you have to be true to yourself and say, okay, is it worth for me to spend that amount of hour for that job? What is going to give back to me and my business? So you have to be smart in that way, because you do have a family. You can't just, you have, 10 hours per week. You have to be very smart on how you use those 10 hours. So for me, those were the lessons. Try to find that balance and make sure that I said yes to the right opportunity, and sometimes let go some other ones.
Yeah, that is really, really great advice. That's advice for me, because I don't always maintain good boundaries in terms of everything that I'm trying to do all at the same time. So I'm sure other people would find that useful. And I think it's the same if you're working as well. You're not running a business, you still need to be able to learn to say no. And if you can't take on that new project, you might need to say no to that, or you might need to realize that sometimes you're saying no at work, or sometimes you're saying no at home, but ultimately it's okay. It's okay for you to use that 2-letter word and maintain those boundaries. Yeah.
And, we're doing a lot as women, I think, but we don't have to be superwoman all the time. So it's okay to say no sometimes. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think sometimes you just want to do everything and we think, I can, but you can't. The time, at the end of the day, there's 24 hours per day, and, you have to manage those hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of where you get your inspiration from, so I'm always interested to speak to creative people, because I would say I like to do creative projects, but I wouldn't call myself a creative person. So when you are like planning your workshops and creating your online course, where do you get your inspiration from? Do you just sit down and then just see what happens in terms of the designs that you come up with and the structures that you have for your workshops? How does it work for you?
For the workshop, it's quite easy because it's like a structure. So the workshop is 2.5 hours, and kind of realize how much a person who's never done Macrame, for instance, can do in those 2.5 hours. So I think the workshop is probably the easiest part. For me, what takes a lot of time is when I create new pieces, so like pure creativity. So I usually start with perhaps a sketch, and then I start making. And as I make, things kind of change and I kind of go in the flow. So all my pieces that I've done, they never look like the first sketch that I did. But I think that is the spark of an idea. And then as I make, it develops. When people ask me, how long did it take you to do the latest Macrame? And it's like, well, it actually took me a long time because I had to design it, which means doing it and doing it, doing it and doing it. If then I have to replicate it, it's quite easy because I know the process, I know the knots. Yeah. But otherwise, the creative part takes a long time, but it's also the fun part for me because I can that's where I express myself. That's where I try and kind of go with the flow and just see how it goes. But yeah, for the workshop, it's quite easy. It was a bit more difficult, obviously, for the online workshops because they are 4 weeks. So every week I had to structure the online course in a way so that the student can progress. But that also has been absolutely fun. It's just been amazing to connect with people from around the world. And I think that was the step I needed after being doing a lot of workshop, live workshop where I meet people in real life. I just kind of, even though I do few around England, mainly it's London and Hampshire, I just wanted to connect with other people, other followers around the world. And the online course gave me that chance. And it's been amazing with talking with people in Australia, in Panama, in America. And it's been wonderful.
That's so exciting. I remember we had a conversation a few months back about you about to launch the course. So to hear you say that you've done it and that you're...
I know.
So how did you go about getting the course out there to people all over the world? So you're based here. So what was your strategy to say, okay, how am I going to reach those people?
It was mainly social media. I would say it's all social media and through my newsletter. And then I just, through Instagram, I've got a few friends, I've got huge followers, and I've just simply asked them, I say, can you please advertise it on your Insta story? And the Macrame community is really good, you know, and through Instagram you can get to meet like incredible people, really kind. And these people did. I only got 10 people for my workshop, for my Macrame workshop, but for me that was my target as the first time I was running the workshop. And and it's been incredible. So I'm really happy. So I will relaunch it again in the autumn, and let's see how it goes. But
fantastic.
It's been a great experience.
How exciting. So I always like to ask my guests if they can share an inspirational quote or a saying that they like or that they live by. So do you have one that you'd like to share with our audience?
So I have one on my website from Maya Angelou.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and the quote is, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give.
That's
and
amazing.
To me, that it's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. At the end of the day, for me, it's to just teach whatever I've learned by myself or through going at a workshop. Once I've learned that, I just want to give it to other people. And for me also, it's not only the skill of, you know, just say macrame or natural dyeing. For me, it's also, I think, especially women and, women that have children, they just need to find that time for themselves. And creativity just gives you that space to kind of go into, to shut off everything else and go in a space that's just yourself. You know, it's a very mindful thing. When you learn something new, you just so in it that you just have to forget everything else. And, you know, and it's so rare when you're a mum, especially, to forget everything else, because, you know, you've got a list of things in your head that you have to do constantly. You have a checklist, and to be able to have 2 hours where you forget about everything else, you learn something new, and you like just dedicate that time for yourself, for me is very special. So for me, creativity, it's so important in people's life. And if I can achieve that with some people can come to my workshop and find that time for themselves. For me, it's the ultimate.
Oh, it's amazing. And I think you're so right in terms of having that time to do something different. And just like you said, when you're doing your creative work, you get lost in it, and it's your time to just go with the flow. I remember when I was in hospital with my son before he was born, I had to stay there for a few days, and I came across adult colouring, and I literally ordered it from Amazon and spent the 4 days that I was there just colouring and making these beautiful pictures, just choosing what colours, and it was just lovely. And then now it's every now and then when I feel stressed, I'm like, I just need to colour. Where's my colouring book? I just need to colour. And it's amazing the outlet that it provides, just being able to sit down and focus on something that it's using a different part of your brain.
Exactly.
And so it's amazing. So I know that people, if you're not doing it already, you need to find something.
Well, that's why those adult coloring books are so popular, because that's exactly it. It's just an outlet, just using another part of your brain, and you can just shut away everything else for the 5 minutes, 2 hours that you're doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if people want to learn more about your workshops, about your online courses, and your blog, where can they find you?
So everything is on my website, and the website is twome.co.uk, and it's spelled TWOME. Yeah, and there you can find all my workshop in London and UK, my online courses. There's the link also to my shop where you can buy some of the products I make. And and then it's my blog where you can go back and look at all my 12 crafts, or now it's mainly about lifestyles and creativity.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to share the links to all of that in the show notes so that people can head over
Thank you.
and check those out. But it's been awesome interviewing you and learning about your journey.
Thank you so much, Janine.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of wanting something just for yourself. But when you're a mum, you give so much and everyone needs you and there's so many demands on your time. So finding something that you're passionate about and that is just for you can be so refreshing. And it's awesome to hear how Isabella took that passion that she found in Macrame and developed a business organically, and how people just started coming to her, and how she's developed a business that is working for her and her family. It's just awesome and really inspirational. So if you want to learn more about Isabella, I will put the links to her website and her blog on the show notes. So head over to lightboxcoaching.com/episode-38 so that you can access those. One final reminder about the collective. The doors are going to close on the 31st of August and won't be open again until the end of the year. So if you are looking for some support and guidance as you navigate your journey, your career journey post-motherhood, then do come and join us at lightboxcoaching.com/the-collective. If you are liking the show, then please do head over to iTunes and leave us a rating and review so that more women just like you can hear the show and join in the conversation. I always love to hear your insights and key takeaways from episodes. So why not head over to our private Facebook group, which is the Careers Beyond Motherhood community, where there are a group of women in there who are connecting, learning from each other, encouraging one another on our journey. So head over to lightboxcoaching.com/Facebook if you want to join the group. All right, that's all from me today. I will be back again next week. And until then, look after you and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Sound.